Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Anirban Roy Chaudhary, Senior Associate Editor with Economic Times Brand Equity, and it gives me immense. It's an honor for me to welcome you all for today's session. We are going to discuss and decode omnichannel media deployment, and to do that, I have a really amazing panel with me. Welcome to all of our viewers and our panelists here for this session. Before we go deep, I want to understand from each one of you about the challenge that you today face when it comes to omnichannel or multi-channel media deployment. So here is an icebreaker question. What I want you to do is, quickly just introduce yourself and then take my question, which is, what is the biggest challenge that you face when it comes to seamless customer experience across multiple channels, and how do you overcome it? Would like to start with you, Francis.
Yeah, hi, this is Francis Rodriguez. I basically look after the e-commerce and digital marketing at HDFC Life. From the point that, what is the omni-channel piece that customers face today? There are multiple ways to reach to the customer. You have, all sorts of both physical as well as digital media. And what the customer expects is basically a consistent, conversation across all media. And it's not as if the expectation is also that it is always that, okay, this is a certain set of customer, he always likes to self-serve, or this is a certain set of customer, he's more comfortable transacting online. I think based on the nature of the query that he has, I think the customer expects that each of these channels is equally easy and available to him. For example, if somebody in insurance wants to kind of just go through and check a fund value statement, or basically check whether his premium has been applied to his policy, etc., he would obviously prefer kind of looking at it through, say, a WhatsApp or looking at it on the customer app. But if he has a problem that he would like to have a conversation, he wants to very quickly get connected to either an audio or a video call with a representative. So being able to have this conversation across different touch points and not presuppose a particular touch point that the customer might be, more happy with, and to maintain that constant communication or constant, message and information about where the customer is across all these touch points. I think that's the challenge that is there today.
Fantastic. Megha, would like to know your take on this. Like what is the biggest challenge you have faced in creating seamless customer experience across multiple channels, and how do you overcome it, or how do you plan to overcome it? Over to you, Megha.
Hi, Anubha. Sorry for the disruption. Hi everyone, Megha this side. I'm working as a product marketer at Cashfree. For those unfamiliar, Cashfree is a payments platform that helps businesses collect and disburse payments. I've been in the BFSI industry for the last 8 years. Before Cashfree, I was at Great HR and ClearTax. BFSI at Cashfree as well remains one of our core areas, core target segments, and the most prominent adopters of digital payments. Omni-channel media deployment is one of the key areas when it comes to our overall strategy. Talking about the challenges that we as a platform face, so we are a B2B payments platform, right? In our case, omni-channel deployment means integrating all the systems so that there is no friction as your customers move from one channel to another one. So take for example, Misho is my customer, and Misho is
Yeah.
talking about a certain transaction, right? Maybe they have used the desktop, right, the web app to do this query. They want the query resolution not only on that system, but if need be, the same has to flow to the mobile app that has been given to the customer. Also on the same messaging has to go across the other channels like social media and so on. So I think the consistency, omni channel platform consistency is something that that comes out as a challenge, but then we are tackling this with integrated systems. So our overall your crms play a great role in that, where you know
Correct.
that your sales crm and your support crm and your service uptime downtime servers, everything is in sync and talking at the same time in the same language. So I think
Correct.
that is one. In addition to that, it is also another challenge that you face would be as all the BFSI companies are evolving, right, and the experience are becoming a lot better. How do you stand out? Because in terms of services, almost all your competitors might be providing the same product with features here and there, but still in the similar space, right? So how are you going to be the one who delight your customer with and delight not just with one particular thing like your
Correct.
web presence or something, but across all channels?
Makes sense. Thank you, Mega, for your insights. Jack would like to have your take on this. What has been your way of ensuring seamless customer experiences, across multiple channels?
Hey, thanks, Evan. So, hi everyone, myself Jack. So, I take care of, I'm head the marketing in M2P. So, about M2P, so M2P is like we are the banking infrastructure company, and we also have the largest API infrastructure company in Asia. So, for us, omnichannel is very new because we purposely serve from B to B2C. So that's where our product are. And so where today the focus is like all these players are completely needs a seamless integration. So that's where our challenges are in. So because we have never built a product specific to mobile or specific to web or to the laptop, so it's more into a larger scale. So the seamless integration is where our the biggest challenge that you are still facing, and we are just evolving from there.
Thank you, Jack. KV Deepu would like to have your insights on this. I mean, what's the challenges that you are facing? We have been discussing CX with you for a long time, sir. So how do you address this issue of ensuring seamless customer experience across multiple channels?
Yeah. Thank you, Anirban. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Deepu, and I drive operations and customer service at Bajaj Allianz General Insurance. As many folks were saying, this reminds you of COVID days, right? When we were all on screen. So coming to your specific query, Anirban, in terms of, what are the challenges, we face when it comes to omni-channel experience for customers. See, one of the key aspects, and if you go back to the core definition of omni-channel, it's basically to ensure consistency of experience for customers, irrespective of the channel that they use. So ensuring that, all channels are up and running, from the same level of service, that's one challenge that we face. Having said that, what we've seen is that customers want options, but every customer has a preferred channel. All customers don't use all channels. So therefore, what we do is, of course, put in efforts to ensure that, be it the level of servicing, or be it, the speed of response, it's consistent. But when customers show a particular preference, then we kind of help them navigate through that particular channel. So some tools we have used, for example, during COVID days, right, we used to use co-browsing, because when customers go onto the net, then we also go onto the net, and then help them. The other is, taking constant customer feedback, right? Figuring out, for example, what are the, if you look at the tiles, right, the kind of tiles, that they'd like to see, they can click. Similarly, when customers have to navigate through various gateways, right, making it visual so that they just click on an icon and then they will be able to immediately, get through. So these are, some ways by which, we overcome customer experience, customer challenges, and we've seen the results, in terms of adoption of channels. Adoption is at an all-time high. The other thing which we have done in the Indian context is we moved away from the sole use of English. In fact, we use multilingual websites and multilingual apps so that customers can contact us using the language of their choice. So I think listening to customer feedback, ensuring that they can converse with us in the language of their choice. I think these are some ways by which we've been able to ensure uniform experience.
Fantastic, sir. Thank you. Deepti would like to now come to you. You've heard the speakers speak. They spoke from the lenses of the brands, and the customers that they're targeting and the customers that they're catering to. What's your perspective through the lenses of a solution provider who is ensuring that they make the omni-channel experience better?
Thank you, Anirban. Thank you, everyone. Great start to the conversations. What I will first address the initial question, which was the omni-channel challenge, right? So for us, I head strategy at Hive Minds. So we are one of the top 5 digital agencies, marketing agencies in country. So we do work across clients from BFSI, e-commerce, fashion, retail, across, right, where the customer journey is both online and on site. So our biggest challenge is the right attribution. What you all have pointed out very rightly is that every what Mr. KV Ripo has just said, right? Every customer has a preferred channel, but there is a lot of interplay between two channels. So when a customer takes action on one channel, she would have already got the message from multiple channels, and that is what omnichannel is all about, right? Every channel is adding to the unified customer journey. So our challenge is always for all our clients, marketers, is the right attribution, because in digital, especially since everything is measurable, we measure everything. When and it becomes very difficult to say with channel A, cost of acquisition from channel A versus B. If A is expensive, let's spend less there and spend more on B. However, once you do that, you say the blended A plus B cost is changed now. So the biggest challenge for us is this right attribution. And also, uh, and I think as we progress, and these kind of conversations have started in the industry, and all leaders like you are understanding and appreciating this multi-channel approach. So I think we are evolving to a system where we are with our clients also, and you also would be doing, we are looking at multiple ways of finding this multi-channel attribution, so that the marketing decisions are more holistic rather than very sporadic. So I think that is the way in which the industry is moving forward.
Thank you, Dipti. We'll come back to you. But before that, I want again, all of you to shed some light on the trending word today, and that's hyper personalization. For your industry or for the brands that you are catering to, is it feasible approach to go ahead or invest in, and are you seeing enough returns out of it? What are the tenets of building a good hyper personalized or hyper personalization campaign? Deepu, sir, again, we'd like to start with you.
Yeah. Thank you, Anirban. I think hyper personalization is pretty much in work today. See, given that we operate in the digital realm, it's certainly not as difficult, or as expensive, as it used to be before, because we're literally looking at a segmentation of one, right? That's what hyper personalization does. And see, if you look at the whole life cycle, especially if you look at insurance, you start with acquisition, then you get into lifestyle servicing, and then you have claims, and then you get into renewals. So especially in claims, it's always one is to one. So similarly, when you reach out to customers, through promotional campaigns, or when you reach out for service related communication, right? You always have to get as specific as you can, right? It can't be generic. So therefore, it's pretty much the norm. And to give you one example, when customers used to reach out to us, during COVID, I'm again referring to COVID a lot because this webinar reminds me of the COVID days, right? So when customers, let's say, used to reach out to our branch, reach out to a particular branch of us, what would they normally do? They would click on Google, click on Google Maps, and the whole effort is to make sure that the address is updated. But what we also did is we had a bot actually, reach out to the customer and say that you clicked on maps, you'd like to come to our office, right? Is there a way I can service you digitally so that you don't have to come to the office? So that way, it gets very personalized, and that way, we saw a lot of traction from customers. Just to share one example. So it was there during COVID, and we pretty much see it in vogue now, and it's only set to increase as we go forward. You're on mute, Anirban. You're on mute.
Thank you. Fantastic. Great answer, sir. Francis, your take on this entire aspect of hyper personalization and the feasibility aspect of it?
So hyper-personalization is increasingly becoming, cheaper and cheaper, driven by two aspects. One is obviously, the entire cloud infrastructure and everything else moving digital, and the other is increased amount of analytics, right? So today, you have basically options to reach out to both prospects and customers, and target and retarget.
I think he has dropped. I'll move back to Francis for this answer, but meanwhile, yeah, he's back. Yeah, please go ahead, Francis. Sorry, there was some disturbance in the.
Oh, sorry. So I said it's become increasingly more prevalent today to be able to kind of reach out to customers and hyper personalize, primarily because of dropping costs of both cloud infrastructure as well as more and more things becoming digital and backed by a lot of data and analytics, right? So increasingly, you have a bunch of things that you can do to target and retarget customers on your websites as well as at other places. You have basically based on his past browsing behavior, etc., and he's come and he spent a lot of time on a particular page or at a particular product. You can use various tools to kind of reach out to him such that the version of website that he sees basically highlights that product. You can have basically the website catered to differently for people logging in from different geographies, both in terms of language as well as in terms of, say, for example, an NRI customer logging in from outside India. I think Google My Business and other pieces can kind of help in terms of this entire, looking at hyper localization of
Mhm.
the entire, customer experience. So all in all, there are many more avenues today to personalize, and analytics is also helping. So based on do we kind of go back, and if you have a web visit from, say, a top of the funnel marketing? Do we kind of go back and reach out to this customer, through target him through performance, or do we just wait and see whether he kind of comes organically back to the website? I think these are all decisions which data allows you to do. Another interesting thing, especially in insurance, is pre-approved sum assureds. Because if you have a customer whom you have kind of has spent time on the website, has given us their name and number, you can basically go back based on whether he's an existing customer or not, even if he's a new customer, based on secondary data sources like bureau, etc. Create a pre-approved sum assured for the customer and reach out to him with a very customized, tailored offer from that perspective. So there's a whole bunch of things that is increasingly happening in the area of hyper personalization.
Fantastic. Thank you, Francis. Megha, I would like to come to you. I mean, like when we talk about hyper personalization, for you, it must be a lot of B2B as well as B2C, right? So you target the brands as well as some bit of communication to the customer. So can you summarize what hyper personalization actually means today and the feasibility aspect of it for your particular category? Megha, you are on mute, so you will have to.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hyper personalization is something that right now we see more as an opportunity than a challenge. Opportunity because there were a lot of areas where there was scope for business or revenue growth, but we couldn't do because we don't want to bombard people. Right now, personalization is something that gives you the advantage to see your every single persona and do a lot of do your targeting at different levels. So take for example, if I have to today design a campaign for BFSI sector and under that insurance segment, right? So I am going to further break it down to insurer and web aggregator and so on. Further see who are the people I'll be talking to, and the next step is seeing what are the pain points, right? So this is at the initial stage where I'm trying to understand my persona. Once someone is into the system, when you are able to personalize, you are able to actually give the relevant solutions, right? And also talk in the language that this persona will resonate with, right? When you're talking to a risk manager, there are different aspects of the product that you talk about versus when you're talking to a product manager, right? So hyper personalization, we are basically leveraging a lot on the analytics that we have, and also now people are more inclined to put in all the information into the CRM, so that also gives us an edge. With all these data at hand, we are able to create solutions, we are able to bundle our services and offer them in a personalized manner. It doesn't look as a very push marketing because it is relevant to that particular persona. So it is actually a opportunity for us rather than being a challenge. There are a couple of avenues in addition to, take for example, one is your product bundling that you can do. So take for example, your merchant in the e-commerce segment has reached a certain threshold of transactions, right? You, based on the analytics, you get a trigger that hey, they have crossed this GMV, and you can then see what are the next bundle of services that can be offered, right? This also creates a good touch point for your relationship manager to connect with them, and it will not come out as a push marketing or Cashfree being too pushy to promote something. So it helps us become it makes our relationship team also more efficient and more welcomed, because now they are not only taking care of the day-to-day operations and challenges, but also actually becoming private advisors to these businesses, which people value. So we see
Great.
it
Thank
as
you,
an
Megha. Yeah,
opportunity.
great answer. I'll come to you, Jack. But before that, welcome, Karthik. Great to have you here. I'll come to you with a set of with a couple of questions that I've asked my other panelists. But before that, Jack, your take on hyper personalization and the
So,
feasibility aspect of it.
so again, personalization is by word. It is data, right? Like without data or data availability, I don't think so. We cannot do hyper personalization. So with the amount of data that right now we have, we can do a lot of personalization. And specifically, if you understand the ecosystem is like what happens after we do the hyper personalization. So in our case, once we do the personalization, one thing we can able to get is the loyalty. The loyalty of the customer is just getting generated because we do a personalized approach to them. So this we have tried a lot in many of our products, and it worked really well for us. So because we also have a data driven kind of a product in our in our array. So most of our product defines the data, so and it helps a lot. So the increase of the data localization plus the data scalability makes us more uh, more take a more stand in terms of understand, like give a proper feedback to the customer where what they can do and what they cannot do. So all these data decisions are taken via the data, which where like we did a lot of hyper personalization.
Thanks, Jack. Karthik, the question that I asked all the panelists is, how is hyper personalization shaping up, and how feasible is it today for the companies or for the industry that you cater to? So, would like to have your take on this. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I think personalization, when it started off, was about actually trying to address each individual by name. Back in the day, it was about addressing somebody by saying, "Hey, dear Karthik," and therefore, actually getting down into the conversation. But I think when you get to hyper personalization, the point is that it's actually a lot more about individualization. And what I feel is today that a lot of customers and companies are cognizant of the fact that when you get into the space of individualization, you have to not be intrusive. So somewhere I think a large chunk of what we try to do is to actually strike a balance between being catering to a hyper personalized experience while also at the same time not coming across as somebody who's extremely intrusive, because that becomes a problem as well in today's context. And when you look at it from our perspective, right, and I call this the best way, and the best analogy that I have for this is what I call the airport experience. I've talked about this in different places, and I say this because we operate two spectrums as a brand. So at one end, we are a lending player, and we offer consumer credit at checkout, which means that if you go to large e-commerce platforms, you will see us offering a solution which is a credit solution at the checkout point. And the point there is transaction, which is swift and fast. So the goal there is to complete that journey in the shortest time possible and ensure that the customer gets whatever they want or purchases whatever they want immediately. But at the same time, we operate in the other end of the spectrum, which is extremely personalized, which is our app. Where we actually offer deep insights in terms of money management, your expense, and how do you track what are the upcoming bill payments, how do you split payments between peers, friends, and groups. So I call this the airport experience. And when I say the airport experience, what I mean is when you walk into the airport, you are at a point of security check. You don't want to stand there and get your bag opened up and checked and wait there, right? You want that to be really swift. You want to get in and move. So therefore, you have something like a DigiYatra out there, which enables you to just swiftly pass through. And cut to when you get inside the airport, in the same airport, you go into the lounge. It's a lot more personalized. Somebody will walk up to you in the lounge and say, "Hey, Karthik, here's your welcome drink." And I feel the balance for us as a brand is to strike between both of these worlds that exist. So we want to be somebody who is giving you an individualistic service while at the same time ensuring that it's not intrusive. And I think that's the balance that a lot of customers also expect today, especially from a fintech player.
Great. Thank you very much, Karthik. Hello, Chandni. Welcome to the webinar. Great to have you. The question that I asked all the panelists is it to have their take on hyper personalization. How is hyper personalization shaping up, and is it feasible for the categories of the companies that you represent? I would like to, firstly quickly introduce yourself. Would like you to kindly introduce yourself and then take this question. Like what's hyper personalization today is, and how feasible do you think it is?
Sure, yeah. Thanks for that. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. My name is Chandni. I'm heading the department for marketing at Turtle Mint. This is an insure tech business. Largely, we are in the business for insurance distribution with retail agents. And this is a tech-based business that's been 10 years old. We do a lot of hyper personalization, like we speak, and I think it's interesting you brought up. Today morning we spoke about hyper personalization. How do we enable this within the whole hybrid format there is, right? There's digital and there's physical sort of sales leadership, right? So how do we sort of do this in a world like this? And I know what you mean by saying, is it possible? I think since ever, I think it's more possible today than it was, because we were given all the integration across data streams that's happening today. I think that's a leverage for all this hyper personalization that's possible, right? So we've done hyper personalization to an extent to have our ambassador MS Dhoni uh, to say the name of the agent. I'm sure you would have seen, the popular D2C brand Cadbury do this with Shah Rukh Khan, and if you have that reference, something like that done, when AI did this, right? AI is generating videos for every of our agent, having their customers, right? So agents have many customers, and then we're saying we will wish your customers on behalf of you, and that's the campaign we ran. And we're also going to do that this year as we get in the festive mode. But I think what it does is, it allows you to encash your marketing spend so beautifully. Like like, I mean, he couldn't have been that agent's ambassador ever. So now he's not a brand ambassador only for Turtle Mint. He's also a brand ambassador for Turtle Mint's agents, which for a small business owner is a big one to win. So I think, and this, of course, even if we wished for, it would almost be like magic from Aladdin's Chirag. I think today it's all coming true because of all the AI stuff that we're able to integrate so well. And I would say that, while there is all this technology available, the hardest part is to stitch all this together. I think that's where we spend tons of our energy on, to sort of make this in a certain way. That's what's making it slightly impractical, or the question of is it even going to happen. So I think uh, it's going to happen because everybody sees the value around it. At least we saw it. Our marketing buck is well spent, and so we are investing in integrating it in a way that it's more framework based, and not thinking template only. So we are designing from a product in level. Also the way events should be stored, the way data science should deal with it. So we're taking this conversation on those forums as well. So I think it is just the beginning of what it can shape up to. Yes.
Thank you, Chani, and great examples. Of course, the MS Dhoni one remains, and as you mentioned, the Mondelez and Shah Rukh Khan ones, where they had a great
Yeah.
Diwali for everyone.
Yeah.
Those campaigns are only, they are actually raising the bar when it comes to using Gen
Yeah.
AI or using AI in advertising. Thank you for those, examples. Orgo, would like to bring you here in this conversation. The question that I have asked all the panelists is, what's your take on hyper personalization and how is it shaping up? And also, do you think it's feasible for your particular industry today, the cost at which it is coming? Over to you, Orgo. Would like to first, request you to quickly introduce yourself and the company that you come from, and then take the question for our viewers.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Orgo. I head marketing for PayU and bits and pieces of the businesses that it is invested in. Hyper personalization, is it important? Is it not important? Right. So we are all here talking about it. So hopefully there's some merit to it. But what I've learned or found out by experience, hyper personalization is great to talk about, but is a pain in the ass to implement. right? So there is a lot of what to say, white paper I can put through when I put through to my team, to my management. Hyper personalization can do this for us or that for us. But when it is what to say, time for the rubber to meet the road, it is not that easy, right? The other challenge I see with hyper personalization is currently all examples on whatever we are talking about hyper personalization is one way. It's all one way traffic, right? Hyper personalization will actually start happening or making an effect when it is interactive in nature, right? Gen AI may make that possible over the next couple of years, but are we there yet as a company? I don't think so. Not a lot of people, I think, in India are there yet. So the hyper curve, no, I always see if you look at movies, right? If there are people here old enough from like me, they would say we would have seen something in Terminator 2 which has now come to life, right? Or something in Minority Report that has come to life. So I always look at entertainment, I look at fiction to see what is going to happen with hyper personalization, right? I think Netflix is there, Spotify is getting there, but I think overall, in the scheme of things, hyper personalization will pay a large part in customer retention. Now I'm speaking specifically to the business that we are operating in. Acquiring customers is going to get costlier and costlier, but hyper personalization is will help you retain businesses, retain clients. So for me, how I look at it, no, today is Friday evening almost, so at least me, I'm thinking of walking into a bar and having a drink, right? So if you see what does hyper personalization do to retain a customer, right? So I walk into a bar, right, and I somebody greets me, say hello sir, please come in, right? I feel good, right? But then I go into a bar and if say somebody says, hey, hi, Mr. Bhattacharya, please do come in, I feel better. Yeah, somebody knows me. Now think, if I walk in to a bar and somebody says, hi, Orgo, right? Please come in. I will lead you directly to the preferred seat. And hopefully, I will order your same and serve me my drink, right? That gives me a superior experience. Now, in a physical entity or physical world, for that to happen, I need to have visited that place, that same bar at least 10, 15 times, right? And also would be depending on having an attentive server, or somebody who actually wants to make a relation, right? Now with hyper personalization, we want that in the digital sphere to happen from the world go, right? That is the challenge we have, but that is, I think, the North Star metric for my business. So once anybody comes in as a customer to any of our businesses, right, there should be enough data available about the customer to give him a personalized, him or her, sorry, a personalized experience. So that's where we are going aiming towards, sorry.
Fantastic, fantastic, Orgo. Thank you for decoding hyper personalization with some layman examples. I'm sure the viewers would have enjoyed it. Deepti would like to bring you here. You've heard the promises, you've heard the perils when it comes to hyper personalization. What's your take? And you must be servicing clients across categories. So how do you, insist, or how do you actually advise your clients to tackle the situation of hyper personalization? Well, sometimes it can be, great for the business, while sometimes it also can be waste of money.
Yeah. So why I'll build on what Argo said, right? How hyper personalization is very good for customer retention, because the switching cost is high, right? If you are comfortable with one system, one platform, one way of interacting, you would not want to go out. So, and in B2B, personalization, hyper personalization is not new, because always the number of customers is less, right? And customers are generally long term, etc. So the cost of uh, personalizing it for the client has always been lesser than the returns. But when we talk about B2C, where when where the real metal of AI is getting tested, so everyone agrees that with AI, with data available, we know so much about a person, right? But when it comes to customer acquisition, will it help in reducing customer acquisition cost? Right now the answer is don't know, maybe, because when we have a uniform customer message, right, say in English or whichever language, the brand the brand hygiene is maintained. So a lot of time the kind of leads that come in, the customer is already aware of what the brand is, and there's some kind of preset mindset is there, that okay, this is the kind of product I'm going to buy. When we talk about hyper personalization or personalization, we talk to customer in their in their language, or maybe the bot interacting with them just looks like them, etc. Then it becomes more about them and sometimes less about the brand. So a lot of time, the biggest challenge we as marketers find is that the cost of acquisition, the lead cost of a hyper personalized campaign is cheaper than say a standard campaign, a standard English campaign, for example. However, the lead quality is also worse. So everyone who is now interacting and getting leads at mass would know that it is so easy to say that I'll run campaign in every language of India, and then I'll get lead from every corner. But every lead is not equal. So right now, from what I see, hyper personalization is helping to improve the journeys, but really not being cost effective at customer acquisition stage.
Thank you. The next aspect that I would like all the panelists and the experts, to actually shed some light on is the balance between customer experience and the customer expectation, or the business expectation rather. So there is always, I as a customer would want an HDFC or a Bajaj Alliance to behave like a Swiggy or a Zomato does. The app is seamless, or how an Uber does. But at your business end, to implement those experiences, you will have to come at some cost. So is it tough to actually, bridge that gap or balance it out, customer experience versus what companies, willing to spend or willing to spend on experience? Deep would like to again start with you.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a very interesting question that you've asked, because this is where the rubber hits the road. See, when you look at businesses, right? Every customer, every business, does say that ultimately, it exists because of its customers. But when you start to initiate a lot of experiences for customers, then you also have to look at ROI. So that's where this balance comes in. So the way I see it is, especially when you look at it from a digital perspective, initially, there were a lot of experiments. The challenge for businesses was to scale it up. And I think, that's where, now that we are in the post-COVID era, we are seeing, a lot of scaling up. In fact, a lot of our services, which, went digital. COVID was a point of inflection, when it moved from being a niche or an experiment, to getting adopted at scale, that continues. And the other point, which I made earlier as well is, when you look at this, it's also important that while you do what you want for customers, you also have to ensure that you are there where customers are. And I go back to that point which I made about multilingual. So, for example, if you look at our website, if you look at our app, we have launched them with Indian languages, and that really helped amplify our reach, because all your customers are not English speaking customers, right? Customers speak a variety of languages, that's important. And now when you look at the new kid on the block, right? When you look at Gen AI, right? Because everybody is talking and, trying to walk the talk on Gen AI. Then again, you're trying to balance both. So on the one hand, you want to give state-of-the-art experiences to customers. At the same time, you're also ensuring that you bring in business benefits because of scale. So I think the balance comes in where you invest, so you have capital expenditure, but when you adopt at scale, there is a reduction in operational expenditure per transaction, and therefore the volume of transactions makes up for the investment, and that's how you're able to sustain it. So I see that as a balance between business expectations and customer experience.
Fantastic. Francis, your take on bridging the gap or balancing it out rather?
Yeah, I think it is a trade-off, definitely. But a lot of times, I think this trade-off is made much larger than what it needs to be. Honestly speaking, a lot of that happens because the understanding of the customer expectation is incorrect in some sense, right? Let me take a couple of examples. So one is, when we first started video calling a long time ago, right? When the technologies came in, the idea was, okay, you need to have a separate cordoned off area where you need to have the right kind of lighting. You need to have basically a bunch of agents who will be basically the video calling agents who will come dressed in a particular kind of a uniform, with a particular appearance to be kept up, because that's ultimately the brand stature at stake and things like that. And the customer didn't need all of that. What the customer wanted was, like somebody transacting, say, over 1 lakh or 5 lakhs or 10 lakh rupees online, sometimes finds it very difficult to kind of make that commitment by just hearing the voice on the other end. It need not, necessarily always be enough to establish trust. They would like to see a person at the other end. They would like to know that they're interacting with the company that they feel that they're interacting with and stuff like that. So today, an equivalent video calling experience is basically somebody coming or an agent coming who can be taking voice calls as well as video calls, both coming wearing his normal clothes which he would have come every day with, and donning his ID card and brand jacket just when the call starts, because that's what is needed to provide that comfort to the customer that yes, there is a human at the other end. This is not a phishing call. This is basically a genuine brand call, and this is somewhere where we can kind of trust the money with the brand with. So a lot of time, the gap between the understanding of what the customer wants and trying to then, figure out in a no frills experience to deliver that, I think that reduces the trade-off considerably and makes it much easier for what the company wants from the interaction, or the firm wants from the interaction. So this is increasingly the same. I mean, today with Gen AI, again, the same thing, right? Do I expect my app to kind of answer all questions, my company app to answer all questions like ChatGPT? Perhaps no. I mean, I don't think, an insurance customer would come and have a fairly open-ended conversation, with a company app, and specifically an insurance app. But can he answer all questions related to insurance correctly? Can he point me in the right direction? Can he basically have much more accuracy? Yes, definitely yes. So I think it is basically figuring out the design from a customer's perspective, not necessarily assuming it, and making the design to have exactly what the customer wants and no other frills will make it much more cost effective and efficient, and it ultimately will kind of ensure that the firm's goals and their particular KPIs are being met.
Correct. Thank you, Francis. Megha, your take? I mean, what he's essentially saying is understanding the customer expectations and then promising an experience and then adhering to the experience without making it heavy on your PNL. That's a task, I mean, I am sure. But Megha, your take on balancing it out?
Sure. So, for a business, customer is the king, and a lot of expectations that your customer is, passing through your way has led to a lot of innovation as well, right? So we try to keep our eyes, ears, everything open to accept and welcome those expectations and the feedback that they are giving. We do it by having a systematic way of collecting feedbacks, and also keeping an eye open as to what our competitors are offering, where the industry is moving towards, kind of creating a laundry list of what all of this we could offer, aligning it with what the customer is expecting. And then I think a lot of this is what shapes our product release roadmaps as well. This has not only brought a lot of features but also helped us prioritize and deprioritize, because with the so many resources available at your disposal, only this much you could do, right? So customer experience and what the business goal is, wherever we are able to find a balance, that's something that gets the priority on the product roadmap as well. So and also customer experience is expectation is something that will keep evolving, right? So while you are listening to the customer as to what his expectations are today, you also it will be wiser to even think ahead and maybe anticipate what are the other requirements that can come up your way, so that you could plan your roadmaps accordingly.
Fantastic, Megha. Fantastic. Karthik, your take on finding that balance, or actually bridging the gap between customer experience and actually the company expectations that you represent.
I'm sorry, I lost you.
Yeah, I'm saying I want to have your take on actually bridging the gap between customer experience and also your company's expectations in terms of
Sure.
what they want from the customer.
So actually there are multiple parts to this mix. All right. Now look at it from a customer experience perspective. I don't think there is one unique experience that is expected by customers across segments. And I say this as a millennial. Like, I am somebody who's gone to the bank, taken a draft, dropped a check, collected and withdrawn cash, then moved to ATM. I've done that journey. And, I've always understood that anything that's called a financial transaction has some amount of friction in it inherently. So I think, whereas if you look at a younger cohort, if you look at somebody who's from a Gen Z kind of cohort, they are obviously far more familiar initially with only quick commerce apps and things that are quickly done to them, right? Like they deliver everything really fast. So I think the journey for them to get into a financial product, the expectation is pretty similar. But whereas if you look at an older cohort, typically they tend to understand that there is friction. And by nature of financial product, and when you come to lending, you do know that it's going to be a friction. There is going to be friction. I mean, if you have India Stack, yeah, all of that is great. It's reducing the friction, but I have to do a KYC. I have to check whether this customer is the customer who they say they are, right? So there is going to be a weak KYC. There is going to be these checkpoints, and there is going to be friction inherently. So for the way I see it, at least, is in two parts. And I say this from when you acquire a customer, I feel, and I think we've talked about this a lot. There is going to be a lot of friction. And we will have to live with that at some point in time, because at the end of the day, if you're a lending product or a financial product, it is going to be that how much can we reduce that friction is going to be something that we'll have to work towards, right? Because in the origination source of anything which is a loan or any credit product, it is going to be friction. But lessen the friction is the goal there. And subsequently, we spoke a lot about retention and customer loyalty and familiarity. Once you get into that ecosystem, right? I think that's where the magic happens in terms of actually trying to make that experience frictionless for them. So the get-go, so there is going to be friction initially, but after that, can you make this a frictionless experience? Can you have like an N+1 product? So for example, if we acquire a customer for a particular product, when the journey comes for the next product that we want to cross-sell, upsell to them, can we make it as frictionless as possible? Can we actually not make them jump through hoops is the point. So I think the expectation that customers have today, they're also cognizant of the fact. So the customer also understands that this is a product which is a regulated product. There is a lot of stuff that goes into actually building a product like this. So they understand there will be initial friction. And subsequently, I think it's moved towards an expectation where can the company actually make this frictionless? I am your customer already. I've been with you for 2 years. And so, like I think Argo summed it up well. 10 times visiting the same pub or the same bar, you will have familiarity. And therefore, from there, the frictionless journey should be the one that we should take as a goal. But I do believe that, in a financial product and a regulated category, there will always be some friction.
I like how bars and pubs keep coming up as a part of this conversation. There is time maybe we will have to carry a warning that drink responsibly and don't drink and drive.
It's time with the lounge went to a bar. Yes.
It's Friday evening after all. Thank you. Yeah, Jack, would like to have your view on this. I mean, how are you balancing the customer experience, customer expectations and experiences, as well as with your company? Maybe I want you to deliver me something in 10 minutes, as others are promising in advertising, but maybe it's not what your business, wants at this stage. So how do you balance out such challenges? Please go ahead.
Yeah. So this expectation or customer wants is something is a business, right? So I have a one of the example in our product. So we have a product in KYC. So in that product, we had this feature called. So we also parallelly work with other government organizations also. So in one of the requests was like. With that KYC as a product is built, so we thought like we'll also cater the government sectors. So in government schools, they asked for this product where can I take the attendance in 2 minutes of a 50 child. So that was impossible with the camera phone the teacher is having and with the bandwidth the teacher is using. So we could able to achieve that. So that is one of the biggest customer request, or we can say it as a client request, which is doable. This is we did it. We took it as a challenge and we did. So sometimes this feature enables us a lot. Though we built that feature, our KYC product was super fast in terms of getting recognition when we do the KYC with banks or any other products. So that is one of the segment. Second thing is like there are some instances where we generally get as a request from the from our business teams saying that, hey, this client requires this feature, we have to build it. Or we will have an instant request from the client specifically to our product team saying that we want this feature. So during that time, we will take as a call, like we'll go do a standalone research to these clients saying that why it is required, because our segment is more into B2B2C. So we'll go to their clients and then we'll do a small research to understand their requirement. Most of the cases it went wrong. So it's more like their business requires, and then we want to do it. So it will go in that way. So when we publish those results, they'll feel really happy in terms of, okay, whatever the ask needed is not in the market, but it's more like a willing kind of an ask. So we generally ideate these things based on our research. So that is something that we strongly do it in our products and organizations. So customer satisfaction comes with deep understanding of the product. So for me, product plays a significant role. So if product gives that flavor, see, you were talking about Swiggy, people want it like an app like Swiggy, Zomato, in a banking app. So that's where the crux, right? Like, so we cannot give everything to the customer. There are some use cases that we have to restrict based on the applications, so that helps the user to be in the app for a longer time.
Great, great. Chani, your take on balancing out customer experiences and your company's expectations. Is the gap becoming, is the gap widening, and if so, how do you address it?
Yeah, thanks. So I think the fundamental assumption in this question is they are both polar, right? I think that um, I'm not sure if it is right, because I mean, generally you are in business if you are delivering the experience. Otherwise, you know then you otherwise lose it, right? So I think the and customers sort of, I think, seldom be unreasonable about the asks, right? I think what is difficult is, if for businesses to do is, like I think even Karthik said, right, is uh, is to be able to consume this. Everybody's experience expectation is different, right? I mean, if I like it in a certain size, or in a portion size, you may like it in another portion size, for example, right? And I think there, because, and I like an RM servicing me versus I like to visit a branch, right? Like, I think though all those expectations, because they are different, they seem difficult for businesses to execute, and so there is a cost pressure and things like that, right? So I think what we need to sort of, I think we need to sort of rethink is how we be able to give everybody just what they want, right? And I think if we solved for that, with tech, in this whole personalization, I think going back to the older conversation also, and I think if we are able to use personalization or AI to be able to deliver experiences for just as much as that user wants, and not sort of burden him with all the infrastructure you have built because your market research team has told you something about a mass solution, and that mass solution may also not apply to everybody, right? So I think that's the sort of rethinking we need to do as marketeers, as we have this new. Yeah, I think you got me thinking also, while I'm speaking, I'm thinking a lot for me to do, when I go back. So, thanks. Yeah, I think thanks for
Yeah, yeah. No, good,
just
good. Thank you, Chani.
provoking.
Orgo, your take on balancing it out, balancing the customer experience as well as the customer expectations, and at the other end, you have the company expectations and certain P&L stress.
So I will take the company expectation first, right? And not just representing my company, but speaking out of the last 17, 18 years, I'm part of the corporate world, right? Company expectation, no, is just one: revenue, right? And everything else is an input to it. Now, when you're looking at investments into customer experience or retention or whatever you call it, the company may have short-term outlook or a long-term outlook. But any investments at the end of the day should make economic sense, right? Should add to the bottom line. So that is it. Now, hello.
I think, yeah, we can hear you, Orgo. Please go ahead. I think there is some disturbance in the network. Yeah, but what he was trying to say is that whatever experiences we all implement, it has to impact the P&L, and it has to bring in revenue. Thank you. I think I have time for one last question, and I would like each one of you to summarize in one sentence. Say, for example, you have the Harry Potter's magic wand, and you want one challenge to be solved when it comes to omni-channel or multi-channel media deployment, what would that be? One problem. Yeah, Orgo, you are back. You can continue. Sorry, we lost you.
Yeah, sorry, yaar, because have to be online from the phone, and whenever a call comes in, it
Yeah,
just
I can.
long story short, yeah,
Yes.
customer experience cannot be a radio button which is on and off, right? For different companies and different customers, the graduation of customer experience is very, very different,
Yes.
right? So it is basically that's where data comes in. That's where the more hopefully AI will come in at some point of time. It is basically defining a basic common denominator of customer experience that you need to give, right? That is the bottom line or the revenue bottom line on which your business will succeed. If you're not going to deliver
Correct.
that, right, anyways your business is going to wither away and die, and anything above that, right, will be your growth, what to say, growth opportunity if you give superior customer experience. And if you go beyond, say, that in the top 10, 5 or 10 percentile, that will be the differentiator. So we have always to realize that personalization or customer experience has always been there, right? Somebody prefers to talk to a bot, right? Somebody prefers to talk to an actual person. Who are we to decide on that as a company? We do not know, right? We can only take educated guesses. The guesses are just getting better by the data that we have with ourselves, and hopefully it is an evolving process that we will all of us as companies and individuals will learn. But is there that holy grail of customer experience that can be attained by throwing money at it? I do not think so.
Okay. Okay, great. Staying with you, Orgo, before you get another call. One, if you have the magic wand, what is the one problem that you think tech can solve when it comes to omni-channel media deployment? In one sentence or a couple of words, if you may summarize. We have last 4 minutes to go.
Yeah. So I'll quickly say, right, with personalization, with omnichannel, what we have sorted, we have actually sorted right customer, right place, right time, right? Most of
Yeah.
us get it right. But what we are yet to do is right product with the right message. That is the two parts, no, tech can help us solve. I'll quick example, right? Any Game of Thrones fan here? Yeah. So if you just hear winter is coming, right, that can be a good ad line to say akin of suggesting a winter jacket, right? You're just selling a winter jacket. So that is just the first bit. But then if we can deploy, okay, what is the size that you need? What is the color that you prefer based on your previous purchases, and what is the style that you might require based on the location, right? That is hyper personalization. But now to deploy it when you're on different apps on your mobile, right, or surfing, or maybe watching TV, that is what something that needs to be solved, which is unification, right, and deployment of hyper personalized content. We might create hyper personalized content, but if you are not able to unify deployment of it, it is no use.
Okay. Okay. Winter is coming. If you say this in Mumbai, you are not going to get any response. We don't have any winter. It's more summer now in October than it was in July. Chani, your take on how is it? One challenge that you think tech can solve for you better.
Just sorry,
Yeah, I
on
think you
sorry,
gave
yeah.
me
Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah.
Orgo.
Yes, go ahead.
That gets sold right in Mumbai is umbrellas. Yeah.
Yeah, please, Chani.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, I wish this magic wand works for us, right? Because, this is one thing we're really struggling with is, or I'd love for this to happen is the channels talking to each other, right? So I think what happens is we try this very desperately, sometimes it's very pushy also, because we try to say, hey, WhatsApp fallback journey, go to SMS fallback journey, go to email. So there's some sort of experience that is stitched together, right? And we've also got our product teams to say, hey, you tell me if this person is engaged, then up his sort of score on the dialer, and then tell the caller to call him first. So all that we have been able to integrate for now, right? Now
Correct.
the other pieces, right, which is the one that happens outside retention. that I'd like to use my magic wand on, right? So because there a lot of the control is simply with media, and then it's only with let's say if you are in the meta universe, then it's limited to what's happening in meta, and then if you are in the if you're in the affiliate world, then it's limited to what that world is exposed to.
Correct.
So really, and suppose you don't do digital, and suppose you do also some ATL campaigns, TVC, radio, newspaper. There is there the sync that we've been able to bring in the retention world, or the digital world. I think that if we are able to sort of extend to the other media, including OH, I don't know how you will do it, and that's why the magic wand. But
Great.
definitely, I think that's one area we all could maybe do something about, because it has improved my efficiency across many years of experience. This sequencing, the fallbacks, it's not improved my efficiency just by improving the productivity, but also saves me cost, and like
Correct.
the effort I'm putting in the teams doing it, right? So I think the same person is doing this. I think it's stitched beautifully there. The
Fantastic.
acquisition side, or the like the ATL or the non-digital world, I think is
You,
where
you,
the
you,
strength is
you
there.
absolutely need a magic wand and a new spell for sure. Karthik, your take. One challenge that tech can solve for you better when we talk about multi-channel or omni-channel media deployment.
I have a slightly different take on this. I think
Yes.
you'll have to start thinking channel agnostic. I mean, like my solution and thing is I'm going to go back in time. Back in the day, there was nothing called TV advertising, radio advertising, and all, but suddenly it's all digital marketing stuff. So these are just channels. As long as you understand and think channel agnostic. So today it will be WhatsApp. Yesterday it was Metaverse was so big, and then there is AR and MR and all of that coming up constantly, going up and down constantly. I think as long as you think not channel agnostic and think customer first, and you go where the customer is, as long as your proposition is the same, it's fine. So go where the customer is, think channel agnostic is what I would say.
Fantastic. Francis, your take. You have the magic wand. One problem that you can think tech can solve for you better.
So I think along with with everything that all the tools that are there at the marketer's disposal today, right? You're still guessing as to for a particular segment of customers. In case of hyper personalization, a segment of one, what is it that the customer wants, right? And that still remains a thing, right? So, for example, if somebody's coming in searching a product on a website, do you call immediately? In that case, you can assist the customer before he finds any difficulty, or maybe some other customer wants much more time, and you would not like to receive that call and not be disturbed at that point of time. So, exactly what does the customer want at a given point in time, and how does that change for a given segment or a given segment of one? Is I think the problem I would like to solve with the magic wand. There is this saying, which used to be there, that the golden rule of, customer service is customer is king. I think the platinum rule, the rule above that, is basically the customer would like to be treated the way he wants to be. And knowing that and removing the sort of guesswork behind it to the extent possible is, I think, where I would like to use the magic wand.
Yeah, not everyone wants to be a king or a queen, rather. Thanks.
Right, the customer would like to be treated as a friend, right? He doesn't want to be treated as a friend.
Great point here. Megha, your take. One problem that a magic wand can solve for you better when it comes to multi-channel deployment.
So as a marketer, I'm guilty of sometimes bombarding people across the channels. I would want the intelligence, if tech could solve that, to know, actually, to add to what Francis is saying, to know when he wants to be, wants to see my face or my communication. Because just by following their digital footprint, you would not know if right now is the right time. It could be just they are serving through, and serving through doesn't mean that right now there is an intent to buy, right? So I would not want to start bombarding that person with all channels marketing, and just play a hide and seek game. So yeah, if that intelligence could come through AI, most welcome.
Fantastic. Yeah, Jack. You
Okay,
are
I'm
on
in
mute.
sound. Yeah. So I might sound crazy, but see, end of the day, we want our product to get to the end customer, right? So that's something that we basically want it. And sometimes we don't know who's our customer. It might be 10, it can be 20, it can be even one. So in my world, my customer is always one, because though we have very streamlined line of business. So in that case, I always want, if I'm going to do a market, maybe for example, I'm going to do an ad on my product. So I want my ad to get published to that customer at that time, and I also want that to be acknowledged. Maybe a magic wand kind of a tool which could able to give me that acknowledgement. That will be a great thing, so that I can understand. Okay, my that audience have reached that my ad is all reached, and there is a response to it, and I can also understand whether it's a negative or positive response. Based on that, I can able to get the feedback and start working towards the product.
Fantastic. Deepu, sir, your take. You have the magic wand now. What is the problem that you would like it to solve?
Yeah. Since you said magic wand, right? You reminded me of Harry Potter. That's precisely the person you referred to. And then if you look at all the problems, which my co-panelists, referred to, right? I think that's something which is common to all of us. Then for me, it's very
Yeah.
simple. I want to use the magic wand to read my customer's mind. Then everything becomes very, very simple.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now I'll bring you in here, Deepti. You have heard what is it that they want the magic wand to be solved? What if you are trying to be that one for them? Do you think some of these problems can be solved easier?
So of course these problems can be solved, but they cannot be solved with a magic wand, because there's no quick solution. And that's why we all are here, and we are in business, because we solve these problems across again and again, across multiple times, multiple problem statements. What I would since we are also now running short of time, well, towards we started with the omni-channel
Yeah,
approach, right? Media deployment, how to go about it, and now we are coming to the culmination of, like, or if all of this is a possibility, how it comes together. So I
correct,
think one big challenge that we see all brands face is message hygiene across channels. So why like all of my co-panelists and most of the marketers spend a lot of time in understanding their customers. Even Mr. Deepu, who are you're saying that you want to know, I'm very sure you know your customer and what goes into her mind. But the problem is that whatever it's very difficult to communicate the same message across all channels. So we all love the personalized offer. The problem is that personalized offer on A platform is different from B platform, and especially in lead businesses, the the lead journey itself breaks. You talk to one agent, and once and you say, okay, fine, I'll send my Aadhaar copy. And when you send the Aadhaar copy and connect again, there is a full new agent who asks you what is your name, why are you here. So this whole data hygiene across message hygiene across multiple channels, I think if that gets resolved, then this whole deployment, measurement, attribution across omni-channel can be solved. And that is a solvable problem, but yeah, of course, with lot of experimentation. So where we recommend experimentation in terms of message types, hygiene, and continuous checks through tools to ensure that the same message is getting delivered. And wherever the customer is dropping in the journey, when she comes back, it starts from the drop point, not from the start point. So
fantastic.
I think that is one solution. Yes.
Yes, so the problems are there, and there is no magic wand for sure. So the problems will have to be solved over a period of time. Thank you very much. Some of you want to read what is in your customer's mind. I know what is in the mind of my panelists, and that's about a weekend break. But thank you very much for joining us on this Friday evening, and I'm really, really grateful to you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
everyone. It was a pleasure
Thank you.
interacting with you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
என்ன புரிஞ்சுது?